Hello, lover. You've just entered a portal of pleasure, power, and deep, unapologetic sensuality. This is Talk Tantra to Me, where we liberate your authentic self, reclaim the wisdom of the body, and let pleasure lead the way. I'm your guide, Leola, tantrika, pleasure priestess, best-selling author of Sacred Sex Ed, and devoted student of the erotic mysteries. I'm here to strip away shame and awaken your most radiant, sacred, and sensual self. Get in, babe. We're conspiring for your most pleasurable life and seducing the world into a greater good. So, take a deep breath with a vocal exhale, relax that delicious body of yours, and let's talk Tantra. Imagine what could happen if you decided every sexual experience got you closer to your highest self and God. That is a quote that comes straight out of my best-selling book, Sacred Sex Ed. Sacred Sex Ed is the sex education that you never had, but that we all desperately need. One that is empowering, honest, and pleasure-based. It is the pathway to a future in which we feel empowered by our desires rather than a slave to them, in which we feel celebratory of our nakedness and vulnerability. Sacred Sex Ed is creating a world where we can openly and emphatically talk about the energy and acts that brought us into it. This book is not diagrams of genitals, nor is it Kama Sutra positions. It's about having deeply fulfilling intimacy, starting with yourself, with your beloved, and with the world. You can pick it up right now on Amazon. Just search Sacred Sex Ed or find the link to purchase it in the show notes. Can't wait to hear what you think. Let's get back to the episode. Welcome to Talk Tantra to Me. It is such an honor to be here today with the gorgeous, radiant, beautiful Rebecca Boatman. Rebecca helps people build their dream relationships, find the one, and then create a really lasting, solid foundation that, has the honeymoon lasting forever. And she also is the founder of the Calibrave Movement. Mm-hmm. And my personal addition to this, I was thinking today about Rebecca and how I wanted to introduce her as well, because she's also a friend of mine and a blossoming friend of mine. And I was thinking about that quote that you are the equivalent of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And I was like, I want to spend more time with Rebecca. I want to be more like Rebecca. I adore you. You're a ray of sunshine. And I'm so, so blessed to have you on the podcast. And I'm also really excited that you get to guest teach in Pleasure Priestess too and bring the magic into that community as well.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about a bunch of things today, but when she guest teaches in the Pleasure Priestess, it'll be more interactive and embodied. So this is like the appetizer, but that's the main course. So what is the Calibrave Movement?
Yeah.
I want to talk about that first. So we originally met at Mel's birthday party, and I had Mel on the podcast in the fall. If anyone wants to listen to that podcast, it's very complimentary to this one, but different. We talked about what did we talk about? We talked about really honoring and respecting the masculine and creating more polarity in relationship. So very similar vibes, but also different. This is going to be more about meeting the one and setting that solid foundation. We'll see though. We'll see where the conversation goes. But that was really great. But we met at her birthday party a few years ago, and then we just kept seeing each other places. And I feel like it's been over the last year that I've been seeing you more, and it's been really, really juicy.
Yeah, and the first time we hung out one-on-one was when I was doing no phone weekends.
Oh yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, and then we ran into a bunch of chickens, which
we did.
Hike.
Yeah, that was when you were living out near me, and so we would run into each other every once in a while at the coffee shop. But yeah, you were doing no phone weekends. And I was like, that's really ballsy and also very cool. I remember thinking I don't know if I could do that. Now I could do that. I feel pretty confident, but that's pretty cool. What was the idea behind that, just for people listening?
I read a book, I forget the name of it, but it just shows how much your phone can become an addiction. And I realized I'm wow, I'm on my phone a lot. So then I'm what if I just did no phone on the weekends? What would that look like? And I would have to sticky note addresses because I'd make plans, right? And I'm how do I get there? Well, we rely on our phones so much. So the intention was just to learn to really be present and not be on my phone. And it was really powerful, and I recommend it. I haven't done it in a while, and but I did it for 6 months, probably 80% of weekends.
Yeah, it's one thing to be like, I'm not going to use social media for a week, or I'm not going to use my phone for a day when I'm going to be at my house. Like, I've done that. I've also done retreats and things where I turn off my phone for days at a time. But again, you're in a contained environment. It's completely different to go about your normal life, old school, got to get the MapQuest out, to get where I need to go. Yeah. It's really cool though. I love it.
I think it'd be so fun to do a girls' weekend like that where we have bikes and we're just biking around and no one's on their phones.
I love it.
That's one thing. I think doing it with a friend would also be fun versus on your own.
Okay. But you did it 80% of the time for how long?
6 months. So like from Friday to Sunday. Yeah, and I would like make plans and say, okay, well, if someone cancels, like I'm just gonna hang out with myself, I guess. Like they can't text me, they can't tell me. It's a great opportunity to relinquish control for sure.
Wow, that's a good practice for everyone, especially me. Recovering control freak here. What was it like opening your phone on Mondays?
This is where what was challenging is then I would almost go balls to the wall on my phone. Then I was like, I was on my phone Monday, Tuesday, like trying to play catch up, and it was almost like I would go on my phone way too much Monday and Tuesday. Yeah, that part was tough.
I could see myself doing that. Even just thinking about, I did an immersion last week for Pleasure Priestess. So I was very focused on that for 2 full days. Wasn't on my phone much. And then the Saturday after, I was on my phone all day. I was like, and then I was like, okay, I need to turn off my phone tomorrow. So that's what I did.
I think one day we'll see, I think digital detox centers will be popular and normal.
Yeah, exactly. It's the frontier of the addiction space for sure. Okay, so Calibrave. What is Calibrave?
So a Calibrave is a brave action step that you take to calibrate to a new frequency. So I believe that when we stretch a woman, like, or anyone, right? Put your hands out.
Yeah.
Massively. Anything else becomes cakewalk. So the Calibrave is that action step that you take that goes from your old sense of self, or from a sense of self with programming, to a new sense of self, or more an authentic sense of self. So the Calibrave is the bridge that allows you to step into a new sense of being. So, I was really inspired to do this when I first was given a challenge, and it was incredibly hard. It was so hard. I didn't even realize how much I was holding on to fear of judgment, needing to fit in, like all of these like invisible chains that were holding me down. And then when someone said, okay, Rebecca, you're going to go to a restaurant and you're going to go with your invisible boyfriend, and then you're going to send his food back because he doesn't like it.
Okay, did someone assign this to you, or did you come up?
Exactly. Someone assigned this to me, in 2016, and this is where I realized the power of a brave action step, and then I started to play with it, and what eventually created the Calibrave, which is the Calibrave movement, where we have people around the world calibraving every day.
Okay, so you calibraved by going to a restaurant by yourself and pretending there was a man there.
Yes, someone gave me this specific challenge, and I had to pretend that he was there, right? So imagine oh my gosh, I look crazy. Like this is wild. And then not only that, but then he had to propose to me.
Oh my God.
So this is,
how does this work?
This is good. This is so good. So this is like the extreme, right?
Yeah.
If someone's comes to me for a Calibrave, I don't give them this one because
this is advanced.
Yes. So how does what's the benefit of this? I'll get to that. Now, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. I go with my friend who is my partner in the program at the time. And now she's one of my best friends. Right. And I asked her, I'm like, hey, can you film me doing this? And she was like, absolutely not. I was like, why not? She's like, I'm so embarrassed. I'm like, no one even knows we're together. We can walk in separately, but it was too much for her, right? So I'm like, okay. I'm walking through this challenge and I'm all like, I look crazy. Like all of these voices are coming up, and I'm sitting down I chose Denny's because I was like, let's go somewhere where I'm not going to see anyone I know. I'm going to go to Denny's. And we go out of town too, because I'm like, my ego, I'm like, I'm going to look da-da-da. I don't want to be seen, all this stuff, right? So I go into Denny's and I'm sitting there. I'm like, okay, with my invisible boyfriend, I'm having a full-on conversation. This family next to me is like, embarrassed with their kids. They're trying to like block their kids from seeing me.
They're trying to protect them from a woman in psychosis.
Exactly. Literally. So I'm sitting there my whole body's like, oh my gosh, I don't fit in. Like this is so scary, right? Yeah. And I'm like just breathing through. I'm like, I'm okay. Yeah, exactly. From a woman in psychosis. So then the waitress was like, do you need anything? Does he need anything else? I'm like, oh
the waitress is playing
She's
along.
fully enrolled, and I think I'm with someone. Okay, then he proposes to me, right? And I'm like, yes. At this point, I'm just adrenaline's kicking. I'm totally in it. I'm like, yes, I'll marry you. I was so loud that when I was leaving the Denny's restaurant, the people that were by the hostess on the other side of the podium or the stand were like, congratulations. I'm getting like congratulated. I'm like shaking, right?
Yeah.
I come out of there and I'm like, holy crap, I did it. Now, this is an extreme version, right? And I'll give a more simple version. But what happened for me after that is I did not realize how much like needing to fit in and the fear of judgment was impacting my life. Because from that moment, at the time I was working at a startup company called Organifi, and I had built their ambassador program. I was only doing like $5,000 a month. After I did that, within less than 3 months, I grew it to $30,000 a month and left the company, started my own business. And then also went on my first 5 dates, got into a relationship. He wasn't the guy for me. I still had a lot to learn. But that was all from something that took literally 30 minutes.
Okay. And just to be clear, the waitress isn't in on this.
No one is in on this.
You didn't tell her I'm doing this challenge.
No, the only other person in there that knew was my best friend, who's now my best friend, Chelsea.
Okay, so she did come and videotape it.
No, she didn't videotape it, but she had to go. That was like, she's my partner. She just sat in the corner, like pretending she didn't know me. Like, so that, in that moment, I realized, wow, I did one brave action step that made me move beyond these invisible limitations that were holding me in this one frequency, this one sense of self. I like busted through that big time. And then all of a sudden I could see clearly. It was like I graduated from one point of consciousness to another. And then I started creating different things in my life from that point.
Are you a good actress? Like how convincing was it? Were you really in that reality and people thought that?
Am I a good actress? I think I was fully committed. I was like, it's almost like when you go all in, I was all in. I was like, okay, I'm all in at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I just love that you did it in public and you did it in such a committed way. And it's beautiful to see how when you work with these shadows and these fears, it can really impact every area of your life. And for those that are like, that's crazy, there are ways to do it on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
Can I share a couple of mine?
Please.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
If I share on my own podcast? So when I was manifesting Andrew, I did a whole ritual, and part of it was I was preparing for my evening with him. So I had like a full day that I took off. I was like, this is the day. It was exactly 6 months before my birthday. And I was like, I want to be in committed relationship, like certain that this is my person by my birthday. So it was 6 months exactly before that. It was like a full moon or a new moon or something like that as well. So I pinned it on my calendar like weeks before. This is the day that I'm doing the ritual. And so from the moment I got up till the moment I went to sleep, I was in relationship with him. And I was preparing for date night. So I went and I got my nails done and I went shopping and I got a new outfit and I went to the grocery store, I got food to make dinner for 2, and then I went home and I did a whole ritual thing, whatever, sex magic, all of it. And I poured a drink for him and for me and, all the stuff. And then around that same time, it was like, I was ready to meet my person. And I was like, I'm pulling out all the stops. I'm doing all the things. Around that time, I went to Third Eye Meditation Lounge in Austin for a beverage or something. And there was a flyer about a dating event. Mm-hmm. And it was like conscious singles dating event. And I was like, fucking desperate people go to that. I would not be caught dead. And I was like, oh shit. Like tracking myself, realizing, wow, I have some major judgments and wounding around people wanting or desiring or longing for someone. Like, what is that about? What if they're not desperate? What if they're just deeply devoted to being the person that will match their soulmate? And what if they're devoted to the impact that that relationship will ripple out and make into the world? I can choose if I want to see it as desperate or if I want to see it as devoted. And that was a major shift for me. So of course I signed up, even though I still had that story running in the back of my head of all these desperate, weird people that are probably going to be there. So weeks pass. Andrew and I actually end up like kind of falling in love on accident the week before that. But I was like, Andrew, he's a test. I don't know. He also didn't do a great job completely following up the week following. His story is, I thought that you weren't that into me, that you were too good for me, blah, blah, blah. And he ended up getting coaching from one of our friends. And she was like, you're crazy. I saw everything that happened over the weekend. She's obsessed with you. You need to go ask her on a date. So he ended up doing it. But I had this dating event that day. So it was like earlier in the day, I had the dating event and I almost canceled it. But I said, no, I'm committed to going to this dating event for my growth. And also really as a signal to the universe. And like, what if my person's there? And this guy really is just a weird little test. So yeah, I went to this dating thing. I remember pulling up and watching the people violin and being like, just every fiber in my being wanted to pull away. Yeah. I really didn't want to go in. I really, really, really didn't want to go in. But I had to calibrate. Yeah. I didn't have that language, but that's what it was. And so I went in and my person wasn't in there, but I did end up meeting a really good girlfriend there. And it was just a really powerful exercise for me because they had us like in a circle and they had us all go around and speak into what we desired in partnership with every single guy there. Wow. You would like great. Eye gaze and then you have a minute to share what you were looking for in a really intentional way. So I got to say that 30 times or 15, I don't remember how many people were there, but it was so many times that I started to then also relax and soften around my desire for it rather than being so, do I deserve this? Is it okay? Is this weird to want this? Whatever garbage was running around in there. And then they also had us do a really beautiful hypnosis where we got to visualize a moment in the future where we knew it was our person. So the visualization that came to me was I'm being proposed to on vacation in South Africa and it's my birthday. 6 months later, babes, I had that ring. I was on safari in South Africa. So anyways, that's my Calibrave. I ended up meeting up with Andrew immediately after that. He didn't know that I was going to a dating event before, but that was like our first official date. And that night he told me, I'm going to marry you.
Oh, wow, babe. Yeah. And even thinking about how, even though it's like, the guy wasn't at obviously your Andrew wasn't at that event, but your intention and your heart opening and your readiness, like you just committing to that played a role and you then also having the awareness to spot and be available for Andrew.
Yeah. I mean, even being in that room with all these other men that were so available, receptive, generally like amazing men, you know, like I knew intuitively that none of them were my person, but past versions of myself would have for sure gone on dates with these men. And so it got me also in this abundance mindset of there's so many amazing men out there that are super receptive to what I'm desiring. And now I get to go into this date with this man who will inevitably become my husband from this place of a lot more confidence and groundedness than I might have if I hadn't have gone to that event right before it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you getting comfortable owning your desire in like you speaking it in front of someone, these men 30 times, that's a really powerful practice because you're putting sound like energy on, oh, this is what I want and getting more comfortable and allowing it to become alive inside your body, which a lot of times women will often hide that because part of them goes, oh my gosh, like what if I actually admit what I want and then I don't get it? Girl, I say like, say what you want, surrender to the desire and be open to it then happening for you. Like that's a big jump right then and there.
Absolutely. I totally agree. What are some other examples of Calibrave? Just like maybe related to dating, maybe not. I've been around you several times when you've been talking about doing it with like guy friends or like going to the library and doing silly stuff. I think it's just funny and contextual. So I'd love to hear some more. And then maybe how could someone integrate this into their life based on what they're desiring in this season?
Yeah. So a Calibrave a specific powerful one that if you're single and you're like, okay, and I'm ready to meet someone, but I feel a bit closed off, a very simple one, and I'll share a powerful example of this, is going out and winking at a guy. And so when I do Calibrave days with my girls, I'm like, okay, they come on the live. I'm like, I give the Calibraves, and then they have 2 hours to go out and do them, and then come back and we celebrate and share what happened and hear what happened, right? And they're all like, oh, what just happened? So one day I gave, one of the girls was like, okay, you're going to go. First off, she told me there are no attractive men in my town. Not only that, but there's no one that I'm into, because she lived in San Francisco, near San Francisco, and she was more of a red state, right? She didn't believe in the things that people in San Francisco believed in. So she had all of these limiting beliefs, which the average person would agree with her, right? And say, okay, you're probably not going to meet him there. You probably need to travel. Like, she would put her Bumble on 300 miles out and then drive, because she was like so convinced. And I hear this often, my guy doesn't live in my town. I say, BS. Like, you don't know that. Or I say, be open to him living there. So with this one, I told her, I said, okay, you're going to wink at 3 guys. And she looked at me like I told her to go hide a dead body. Yeah. She's like, you want me to what? She's like, I don't even know how to wink. I said, do this, right? Like, wink. And then she did it. I'm like, perfect. So she's like, oh my gosh. And then I also said, and you're going to go have a dance party in CVS. Like, get out of your head, into your body, just dance around for 60 seconds. Like, it's amazing what that in itself can do.
For sure.
So she went out for the 2 hours, came back to the live, right? And she's like beaming. She's like, I did it. I can't believe I did it. I'm like, she's like, I winked at 3 guys now and danced in CVS. A week later, she said, Rebecca, I cannot leave my house without seeing a hot guy. And then she said, not only that, but I'm getting asked out everywhere. She's like, my mom even told me, wow, you're way different around men. And then of course that was reflected back to her. Less than 3 months later, she's like, oh my gosh, I met this amazing guy. He believes in all the same things that I believe in. He owns a jiu-jitsu gym. He rolls out the red carpet pretty much for me and is like in love with her. I'm like,
and he's in her town?
Yep. And he's in her town. And that's the power of the Calibrave. Think about winking. It actually takes 3 seconds? You got to go out and let's say an hour. Go to a Home Depot, Whole Foods. I don't know. Go where there's guys.
Yeah, but you're going somewhere you'd probably go anyways.
Yeah, generally. And it's that.
I want to see this at Home Depot.
Oh yeah, we have videos. We have videos of girls. I'm like, you're gonna get a plant and you're gonna slow dance with it.
I love Home Depot.
This Target we're right by. One of our girls slow danced with a random guy for 2 whole minutes. Wow, this is more advanced. These are like from a retreat, so it's
I love it. I want one. Yeah. I'm scared. My butthole is puckering at the thought, but but I want a Calibrave from Rebecca.
Yeah, we'll do a Calibrave day. I'll do them too. It's we did it. During. When I lived in Sedona, what we do is we get together and we gamify it. So you get points per thing that you do, which also makes it really fun. And do you know who Aaron Dowdy is? He's like a big YouTuber.
Yeah.
So I was like, we were in a team and then, we had another team. And one is that you have to reenact the Titanic, you guys. So you have to go find a stranger and
the death scene or the bird scene?
Yeah. But you have to have a boat. So I've seen girls do it in a Walmart with like a shopping cart and a guy, like cute. But I was with Aaron and we went in front of Whole Foods and he like asked a random girl and she was like, I'm a subscriber. So it was like the best day of her. It was like the sweetest thing. God. So we reenact it with a recycling bin as the thing. But coming back to that, so Wendy, who's the story I was telling, all she did, she got over. She was willing to be open to the fact that he could be in her hometown. So she acted as such, which was being available. The simple Calibrave there was winking. Yeah. And then she ended up meeting a great guy. So it's like, that's a great Calibrave for everyone listening. If you want to meet someone, is be open to it. And winking is a great step.
So would you say this is kind of based on the law of attraction as well? This idea that, okay, I'm going to wink and act as if it's available. And then because I'm acting from that frequency, that becomes my reality.
Yeah. And one of our, Haisa messaged me recently and said, I've been winking so much that I just got to wink back. I just picked up my food and the guy winked at me. I'm like, girl, It's a real thing. You're in the vibration, the energy, you're receptive. It's really cool because once you start opening up, all of a sudden you're getting asked out all the time by men that you're excited about. And then there's other, Calibraves along the journey there.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So I'm pregnant, I have my husband.
Yeah.
Should I be winking at people, or is there another like
So here's the thing. It would be like, what's the intention? Are you thinking about the Calibrave for you, what that would be?
I guess I'm thinking about, like, I like the idea of just winking at people, and maybe it's not my Calibrave because I'm just like, I like that, but I'm also like, I don't think it's a good idea for me to attract attention for pretend like I'm available when I'm not, you know, but I also like it.
The cool thing about winking is I always say you can give attention without intention. I wink all the time.
Yeah,
I wink all the time.
That's true.
And then you know, like they can feel, I think people can also feel of what the intention behind it. So for women, like I say, even if you see a guy who you're not necessarily interested in, just getting in the habit of being open, because what it also highlights is the woman who's comfortable like flirting and being in connection with the world around her also has a strong no. She knows how to protect herself.
That's so true.
She knows how to set a boundary. She knows how to say, "Oh, I'm flattered, but I'm taken, or I'm unavailable, or I was just being friendly," right? Whatever that thing may be. So, a lot of times when women do this, it then highlights where she needs to also develop her internalized masculine and have boundaries.
Can you say that one more time? The woman that is available you said it perfectly.
Oh yeah, I said it. So the woman who allows herself to spread her feminine dust, and flirt with the world and be in connection with the world around her, she also has her internalized masculine develop because she trusts herself to say, no, I'm unavailable, or no thank you, or I'm flattered, but I'm taken, or whatever that boundary needs to be. Now, if you don't trust yourself to say no, if you don't trust yourself to really just use your voice, then it's harder to allow yourself to receive attention.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is deeply intertwined with a classical Tantra philosophy, which basically says that, you know, the more feminine you want to be, the more you need to develop your inner masculine. So it's actually like, even though you're like, I want to be more feminine, it's an equal process. And the same is true of the inverse. The more you want to be in your masculine, the more you need to develop and understand and have this relationship with your inner feminine, because it's your inner masculine that's going to be holding your inner feminine and give her the space and the invitation and the safety to really blossom. So I love that. I love how compatible that is.
That gave me the angel bumps.
It's ancient, baby. Okay, so I want to talk too about the energetics of doing something like winking and the signal that sends around receptivity. I think that being open to receiving as a woman is something that it's like we all deeply want this. We all deeply want to receive, but there's such a gap in our ability to actually do that, to actually receive.
Yeah. So where does that come from? Right? Let's talk about that. Let's just go deeper.
Why are we like this?
Often, right? Very often when the women that, you know, come to me and that I work with, or in general, when I'm asking women questions, usually if they have a hard time receiving, it's very common that they grew up being the strong one.
Yeah.
They grew up learning to have emotional walls and learning to keep it together. For whatever reason. So then, and that also has supported them in their life, whether it's their career, or their independence. So in order to receive, right, in order to allow a man to see your heart, or someone to give to you, you have to feel worthy and deserving of that, right?
Yeah.
But oftentimes, at first I didn't. I'm like, this is so uncomfortable. I'd rather like lick a cow's butthole. I hate this. Just to show, because it was so uncomfortable. Now it's like, I love it. But, you know, a woman will struggle with that if she has not experienced it at all, right? Or so it doesn't register for her. So then what do you do? How do you open up to that? So it requires two things. Mm-hmm. Well, more than two, but the main things are bravery and vulnerability. Uh-huh. Because as you're going out and dating, right, and now you want to receive from a man, well, number one, you get to discern and make sure he's a man worthy of all, like, your heart and protecting you.
Yeah.
And then also showing him different, like, more tender, precious parts of you, and witnessing his character and how he responds, and then that progresses over time. But in terms of like the receiving, there really is so much vulnerability in it, because it's like, oh wow, I can do this and be safe, and I'm okay, and I can just be. I don't have to earn, I don't have to push, I don't have to be the one to initiate, right? There's all these things that can sometimes show up in dating if you think you have to earn love or that you're a burden, right? I'm getting a little bit deeper here.
Yeah.
So with going out and saying, okay, like now we'll bring it back up. Now, if you're going out and you need to learn how to receive in dating, you could say, okay, like this is what I would love. You just a practice can be sharing specifically what you want from this place of I, right? I would love to be picked up, or I would love this. And then you get to see if he does it. And then you just get to like be in the vulnerability of being taken care of. So if you're not familiar with having a protector and a provider, what can also happen is sometimes women, right, they have to learn to register it and to know that it's safe. And that takes time as well. So I know I went a little bit more advanced, but
yeah, what's coming to mind is,
if you're a woman who considers herself spiritually awake, deeply devoted, already walking your path with intention, then listen up. I know you've manifested, meditated, sat in ceremony, you know the language of ritual and reverence. And still, you know your pleasure and sensuality hold even more possibility. Because erotic embodiment is about moving, speaking, creating, and leading from the deep intelligence of your womb, your heart, and your pussy. The Pleasure Priestess Initiation is an invitation into that next octave. This is a year-long tantric mystery school for women to be initiated into the sacred art of orgasmic leadership, to reclaim your dark feminine gifts, heal the sisterhood wound, and seduce the world into a greater good. This is where we do life and love together online, in ritual, month after month, and of course in the flesh for a juicy in-person immersion. Inside, you'll explore potent Tantra practices that are meant to be lived and adapted to share with your beloved, your sisters, and maybe even with the world through your own offerings, community, and facilitation. You'll be held in a field of high-level support with guest sexperts, medicine women, and embodied leaders who are already walking this path alongside you, as well as 24/7 access to our electric WhatsApp temple to stay connected, supported, and in celebration of this tantric life. The Pleasure Priestess is open for enrollment now to start at the end of April. But as soon as you join, you get access to over 100 hours of previous Tantra trainings, resources, and the vault of our past guest teachers. This is an initiation into your power, into your pleasure, into the woman you know you came here to be. Click the link in the show notes to claim your seat in the temple, or visit us at www.talktantratome.com/pleasure.
I think that there's a couple of different types of women that exist on this receiving spectrum.
Yeah.
I think about on social media right now, there's all of these, there's this, I can't remember what the account is called. Certified Lucky Girl. Have you seen this? You should, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
But basically it's this account of all of these women that are getting flown to Dubai, that are getting Hermes bags on their first date, that are like, it's really wild. And a lot of it is around how we relate to men and our receptivity. And then there's also a lot of women that are now really expecting this like insane treatment. And there's this friction that's happening, I see, between like men and women feeling entitled to certain things and the relationship that's having. And so there's a lot of women that feel really entitled, basically. But there's also women that are like, can I ask to be picked up? Like, what's going on in the collective?
This is great. I didn't see this or know this, but I'd love to speak into it. So entitlement is always going to repel a quality guy, because a man wants to give. He just wants to give with his devotion.
Yeah.
Right? It's like he desires that. And when we're sharing what we want from an energy of, I want this, but I'm not attached to the outcome. Oh, then you're going to then receive beyond that. But if you're sharing, this is what I want from entitlement, it's only going to lead to resentment. And that's probably some manipulation or masculine energy there that's then going to not lead to more intimacy, right? So I would say there's that. And then the women who don't feel worthy of it, I would say like, oh, I would want you to practice like expressing what you want, like being too much as possible. That would be my invitation.
Yeah. I have so many more threads I want to pull on this, where to start. I think that there's also this piece where it's, okay, I want to express my desire. I don't want to be too attached. Where do we have our non-negotiables, if you will? Like, how do you determine, is a man, you had said earlier, make sure that he's worthy of, you know, taking your heart and holding it, right? Because so many of us are coming in armored already. And then, you know, right? Yeah. You get it. I've been there. Yeah. I remember just really raw, honest reflection from my own life. I remember when Andrew and I started dating, and I was like, and I would tell him, I feel like the other shoe's going to drop. I'm just like, I'm moving cautiously. I'm feeling anxious. And he was like, just watch, just wait, just see. He's like, I don't need you to trust me because I'm going to act in integrity and you're just going to see it, which was great. Like that helped a lot. And, you know, Andrew has his flaws, as does any human and man. But his commitment is one thing that has been incredibly stable beyond any man I've ever known. But anyways, what was my question?
I remember. So you're like,
how do you determine if a man is worthy of holding your heart, and specifically around, okay, I want to be unattached to my desires, but also, and maybe it's a question of what's the difference between a desire versus a
deal breaker.
So,
okay, there's like couple questions there. First one, you know, we have something we take women through called the attractor code, where it helps them identify, right? What are your deal breakers? What are your non-negotiables? And what are the qualities that are really important to you? So you have that attractor code. So when you go out and date, you disqualify or you rule out men who are like, okay, like, no.
Yeah.
And we want to get you so magnetic that like, that's your next thing. It's like, okay, how do I disqualify men who aren't a match? And you also learn so much about yourself in the dating process. Now, and then there's other things you're going to learn. Oh, wow, I really like that. Or like, oh, I thought this was important to me and it's not, right? Yeah. So being open and curious and fluid and also staying true to your standards inside your attractor code. Like if you want kids, like not if you do want kids and he doesn't, like, no, right? Like don't pretzel on these deal breakers that are really important to you. And then as far as identifying, okay, is he worthy of me? Is he deserving of my heart? I want to answer that. But before I answer that, I want to come to this important piece is we all have two parts inside of us, right? We have this, what Robert or Carl Jung calls it, is our psyche, our like tender, fragile, like little girl who's like the soul, and she's like playful and she wants to go do cartwheels and eat ice cream, right? And she, she's like the dewdrop. And then we have Aphrodite, who's like this raging hurricane, who's like can be the storm or the wildfire, right? And so what happens is sometimes in dating, right, we just lead. Psyche's the one who crushes hard. She's like, crushes hard and fast. Aphrodite can sometimes have too much of rigid boundaries. So what's cool about dating is we learn to integrate these parts of ourselves. So it sounds like your Aphrodite was kind of like, I don't know, Andrew, like, you know, you were protecting your psyche because she had been hurt, right? In the past, I'm assuming, like, and she's like, let me see. Yeah. So for all women, that's important in dating. What happens is you have this really precious, tender part of you. All women do. And sometimes we can be mean to her, right? And I think we are all learning to be kind to her and know that we have this precious side to us. And it's a man's responsibility in his divine masculine to also protect her. And for women, it's important that you trust a man's judgment to protect her, but to identify that man, that's what we learn in dating. So in dating, you start to show her a little by little and see how he responds, which is probably what happened with you and Andrew, is you started to show more of you and then he started responding with adoration, with love, and with care. And then you're like, okay, I can melt with you.
Yeah, that was really cool. I think one of the coolest things about Andrew in our early relationship that really sealed the deal for me was even when we didn't agree and I would have a big emotional response,
A BF.
He wouldn't. A BF?
A bitch fit.
Yeah, I would have a huge bitch fit.
Yeah.
Great little, what is it?
It's from Mean Girls. It's from Mean Girls.
Is it a
Yeah.
BF?
Yeah.
How do I not know that or remember that? I've seen that so many times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can think of like one specific example where I had the biggest bitch fit, and I might have even been righteous in that bitch fit. And I think I was at least partially righteous. But what happened was he didn't run away. He stayed with me in it.
Yeah.
He held me. I was like screaming and crying and hitting shit. And he was like, great, let's do this. I don't, there was no one was right or wrong, but he was there for it. That was really cool.
I wonder if a part of you went, oh, I'm not too much for you.
Definitely it was, I'm not too much for you. And it was also, that was the first time that a man didn't react to my emotional outburst with an equal or stronger one. And to me, that signaled such a deep level of safety to my nervous system that was unparalleled to anything I'd ever experienced in my life. I was like, oh, I can be my whole self here. And that's hot. Yeah.
Which is what true connection is, right? It's like, I can be my whole self and I can be close to you and not have to change who I am.
Yeah. And what it actually ended up doing for me was it initiated me into that, because that was a place where I had room for improvement.
Yeah.
For me to receive his bitch fits, because that man has some bitch fits, let me tell you. Bless his soul.
Yeah.
But he gave me an imprint of what that looked like to hold someone in that. So now I'm able to do that. And that's good. That makes me a better friend. That's going to make me a better mother. It's made me a better coach. Like, this is so the beauty and the value of long-term committed partnership, or partnership in general, because I do believe that you don't need to have a long-term relationship for it to be successful, for there to be harvests and learning growths. But for anyone listening that's like deeply calling in their person, but also is like a little, I don't know, for me, I felt like it was like I wouldn't allow myself to fully surrender into the longing. I felt like it was selfish. I felt like it was a sign that I needed to do more work on myself, so I felt more complete inside. But I also knew deep down I'm meant for this experience. And I'm so glad that I just surrendered and trusted that, because the way that it has impacted who I am as a being in such a powerful way, the way that it's made me a better woman is incalculable. And that affects every person that I come in contact with and the way that I'm able to move and impact the world. So
it's amazing, babe. And I love that perspective that you're offering everyone. Like, there is so much to learn and grow and have that. And you took that. You're like, oh, there's room for me here. And then, it created a fruit that now you get to experience and continue to give.
Yeah, absolutely. So these non-negotiables, or soul desires, if you will, these things that feel really important to people in their journey, especially around compatibility, I recommend that people like talk about that on the first date, even if it freaks them out or they're afraid that it's going to freak out the person. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Yeah. And I think it's also really attractive when a man does as well.
Initiates it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think especially if you have hangups around it, do it. Because most likely it's just like a block in your throat center.
Yeah.
Right? Just like you're probably, and if you feel nervous, you can also say, I feel nervous. Like, you can say you can say what's happening in your system. Mm-hmm. And just, you'll get more comfortable with it. The only time I recommend not to do it is if I'm working with someone who, or am I talking to someone who they're a massive controller, right? And they're doing it because they have an agenda or they're doing it because they're like, you must be this person, rather than this is what I want. And I'm speaking to the vision that I'm creating no matter what. Yeah. So those are two different energies.
Absolutely.
So you're speaking to it. You're not saying, oh, you have to be this. You're like, this is what I desire. This is what I want. And then trusting that if he is that man, he will be so grateful to hear those things and then also pursue you consistently.
The interesting thing is that I think that it's a lot of the armored girlies that are like, I don't want to talk about that on the first date because it's vulnerable. Yeah. But in reality, this is the best hack for protecting your heart, because you're allowing him to disqualify himself or disqualify him actively before your heart gets all caught up in it. And then you're 3 months in and finally you're talking about kids or religion or politics or whatever the thing is for you. And then you realize you're not aligned, but you're like, oh, but I actually really like you now. And we had sex. And
now I'm bonded to you.
Yeah. Like I've done that.
Yeah.
I've done that.
This is an important piece is when we are physically intimate, oxytocin comes out, which is the bonding agent, and you no longer see a man objectively. Yeah. So I just highly recommend if you're at a point in your life where you're like, I want to get married, I want to have kids, wait to be physically intimate with him until you've gotten to know him spiritually and emotionally. And a good guy will wait for as long as you need.
It's true.
So if you're like, oh, but what if he leaves? Then he's not your guy. Like,
yeah, I totally agree with you. Listen, I'm all about getting in bed. You know, this is a sexy podcast. I'm a sexy lady. And Andrew and I actually waited about 6 weeks to have sex. And there were many benefits. That what ended up happening was a couple of weeks before, maybe a week before Andrew and I fell in love, and 2 weeks before our first date, I did a ceremony with a sister of mine in LA, and it was like a new moon or full moon ceremony. Again, I don't remember. But what came through, what God was telling me or goddess was telling me was, you need to be celibate for a month. And which isn't that long. Like, that's not even that long. But I was like, for me, I've been historically so suspicious of celibacy spaces and conversations, because to me, I have seen it be this same celibacy that comes from the religion that we're grown up with, that is demonizing sexuality, which I'm obviously not for at all. Like, my whole life is about integrating the sexual and the spiritual. So to me, when I see some new age or spiritual teachers, whatever, say, really preach celibacy, I get a little bit of, is this the same shame and fear-based narrative that's been rewrapped and then waved with a sage bundle and stamped by the guru, you know? And so I've been a little sus. But I do think that it's actually very valuable when it's coming from a loving, integrous, curious place, not a shame-based place, not a place that's like, you're going to be haunted by his demons for 7 years. No, but it is important to know about the science and the bonding hormones and oxytocin and serotonin, whatever. But anyways, goddess was like, you need to be celibate for a month. And I was like, all right. It's a month. Like, I can do that. So I did. So when Andrew and I fell in love, that was on the table. And then also Andrew was very much like, no, like he wouldn't even kiss me. That when we were like, long? We waited until our first date. So we were like falling in love. We were on this weekend with a bunch of friends, essentially. Like, it was like kind of a co-created retreat space that I like put together. It was really fun, really beautiful. He came along. There's a whole backstory to that. But anyways, we had been interacting for months in a environment where I was always in a leadership position. I was facilitating a Tantra workshop and he was coming along, or we were in a really big group at like a birthday dinner. Like, we didn't really have any opportunity to actually connect deeply. But when I first saw him, I was like, that's the father of my children. But it never landed. And so I thought, whatever, that was just so crazy because I'm pregnant with a child now.
I was thinking that as you said that.
It hits on a whole another level. It's like making me emotional. But anyways, it took all these months before we were in a more platonic space where things could show potential romance. So what became inevitable became undeniable that weekend. Yeah. And anyways, so yeah, we were cuddling and like all over each other. And it was like, I was having energetic orgasm after energetic orgasm. I was like, my whole body was just alive with this man. And that wasn't necessarily uncommon for me. Like, that's just how my energy runs. But it was also very hot. It was very, very hot. He's also very, very hot. So I think that I could have been convinced to kiss at least. Like, I think I was actually open to kissing. I was like, yeah, we can totally make out. My rule with the universe was no sex. Like, I'm clear. But he was like, yeah, we're not even going to kiss. And I was like, great, that's perfect. But we were basically having energetic sex.
What was his intention not to kiss? Just take it slow?
I think that he was like, So we've talked about it afterwards, and I think a big part of it was I actually really see potential here, and I don't want to blend all of these hormones in before we, like, he was also in a place where he's like, I'm ready to meet my person. I don't really want to waste my time getting bonded to someone that isn't that person.
Yeah.
But the hormones were running anyways, to be honest.
Because you can have oxytocin from just being in proximity, hugging, touching, like all that.
Yeah. So yeah. And what was really cool about that too is when we would slowly deepen in physical intimacy, it was kind of like when you're like a teen and you're exploring physical intimacy for the first time. Like, so many of us now will go on a first, a second, or a third date, and we just go from holding hands to fucking pretty quickly. Yeah. Right? But when we're like 16, it's like you hold hands and it's just such a big deal.
Your hands all sweaty.
And then he touches your boob for the first time and it's like, oh my God. You know what I mean? And so we got to have that. Like, there was a day where he saw my pussy for the first time, but didn't touch it, didn't taste it, like just witnessed it. And there was a first time where I touched his cock, but it was like literally just a touch. And then things slowly progressed into sex, but it was like 6 weeks. It wasn't like I went into it being like, I'm gonna wait though, but that's just how it naturally happened for us.
I always say too, I'm like, if you think about it, once it's you're with your person, you get engaged and married, it's like you're gonna look back and realize like that's like one phase that you have, you know, and you're gonna have it in different flavors, different textures, different dimensions once you're married, right? And different colors. And so like savor, like realize when you're dating and then you meet and you like that man and he likes you, like you're in a really cool special spot. And to be able to prolong it actually requires intimacy. Emotional intimacy, right? Energetic intimacy. When people try to do things really quickly, usually it's a fear of intimacy that can sometimes be there. So I say like with what you just shared, so beautiful. And I hope it inspires everyone listening. Say, okay, I'm going to take it slow, especially because Psyche in us crushes hard, right? Wants to move fast, but like,
yes, she does.
Like, take it slow.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I'm all like, every relationship is different. I know of relationships that started with like what they thought was going to be a one night stand. And so there's no right, wrong, good or bad, but we'll speak to our experience. And that it was a plus one to wait and to elongate that. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah. And if you think about it, say Kelly's supposed to meet Tom. I'm just going to give an example. Now, if Kelly and Tom meet on the first day, I actually have friends who met and 9 hours later they were married.
What?
Yeah. 9 hours ago. They have 3 kids. Yeah, they have 3 kids.
Wait, I think I might know who this is. Yeah. What's her name?
Nikki and Math.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know her.
So, but say Kelly meets Tom. Now, say they meet that in 24 hours. They have sex. Then they end up moving forward together and have a happy family. If they're meant to be, right, they still would have gotten together a month later. So when women are dating, I remind them of that. I'm like, listen, you can't lose. You're setting yourself up to win when you also protect yourself in learning to get to know him spiritually and emotionally. But you're right, there is no sex fits all, and we have many stories of that.
Yeah. I want to end with one last talk around heartbreak, and from 2 angles. One, okay, what if you didn't talk about your non-negotiables early, or you bypassed your desires? Maybe you did talk about kids and he didn't want them, but now it's 3 years in and he still doesn't want them because you thought he'd change his mind. Like, what do we do when we're in that heartbreak or that dissonance in the relationship longer term? And also if we're just, let's start with that. I don't want to give you too much at once.
So that specific situation, if someone's in that.
Yeah, if someone's in a relationship where they're like, oh, fuck, I'm with someone that's actually not compatible with my deeper desire because I bypassed my desire. Yeah. What do we do?
Well, I think number one, I know I'm like.
It's like hard. It's like, that's up to you, babe.
Yeah. It's like, are you willing to grieve that desire and actually let it go to be with this man? And it doesn't mean that it's off the table. It could end up happening. But if you I think fully accepting the reality that's in front of you. And if that's something that you're like, no, I would be betraying myself. I think it's important to honor that and say, okay, then we have different visions. And then of course that's going to be if you're in love with this person and you're 3 years in, that's my take on that.
Yeah. So it's heartbreak either way. You're either going to be grieving the desire and however big that might be, or you're going to be grieving the relationship because you know that it's actually not in alignment, which sucks. I've been there.
Yeah, same. That was like one of the roughest.
Yeah.
To be in love and be like, oh, but we have different visions. Like,
yeah. The worst part about the one relationship that I'm thinking about in particular is that I knew from the beginning that we weren't compatible long term, but I was like, but he's nice. I'll give it a go. And then I let myself get so entangled.
That's the feminine too, though. That's like, he's going to change his mind because I change mine every 5 minutes.
Yeah. And it was also me feeling like this is as good as it can get because it's never been better than this before. And I don't deserve / I don't think it's possible for me to have all of my boxes checked. So,
yeah, it's a scarcity.
And he loved me immaculately for where he was, what he was capable of, and also from where I had been at that point. But at the end of the day, we were not compatible long term.
Yeah.
But
so next, thank God, I love you here.
That heartbreak sucked. And I was like, I'm not available for this ever again. And that was my last like long-term relationship before Andrew. Okay. So what about if someone is like, okay, they've left the relationship and they're in heartbreak. They're in this like, how do I open my heart again?
So if you're in heartbreak, you left the relationship and you want to open your heart again, but you're scared. I think number one, most important thing is to not make any meaning up or beliefs up about love. Because sometimes when women are in their heartbreak, they then create a belief in that really fragile, tender moment of all relationships go south, or it's always going to be like, it's like some definitive. So do not make up any meaning. Remember, like in your heartbreak, you're actually like melted down gold, ready to be reformed. So it's letting yourself grieve, right? It's literally your cells are dying off so that something new can be born. Like grief is very healthy. So continue to feel your feelings. And what's really counterintuitive is, and I used to even teach it this way and realize, whoa, that it is, we think, okay, like, how do I get rid of this feeling, right? And then that's our mind actually trying to override our body rather than trusting this 100-million-year-old organic healing machine.
Oh,
So it's like, what if I could just like be present to the feelings around my heart and not even try to get rid of them?
Yeah, radical acceptance.
Yeah. And knowing like if you're in heartbreak, babe, like you're in heartbreak and that's okay. We've all been there. We all go through it. And it's also what helps us see the beautiful things in life. That's also, your heartbreak is because you loved so big, is because you cared so much. So that's such a precious, beautiful part of you that we want to keep. So letting yourself feel those feelings and then keep it open, especially when it hurts the most. When it hurts the most, keep your heart open. And then as you go out, right, now you've most likely gained wisdom, which wisdom never comes cheap or easy. It just doesn't. So, and that's a lot of times what comes through heartbreak. And when we learn, okay, I have to have this internalized masculine, because we're Leola and I think we're predominantly feminine souls. So I'm assuming that some of the listeners are. And so, and then we learn, oh, I have to have this internalized masculine to then protect my heart, right? And then we, okay, moving forward, you date differently, but it can still be energy rich and fun and playful. So if you're experiencing that, I say let yourself feel the feelings. Don't make up any meaning. Have people around you who encourage you. Have people who are going to speak possibility, and I think that can be so underestimated, the power of community and the importance of having women who are there for you and who just are loving you in the process, and also reminding you what you need, that the dream guy that you in relationship that you do desire, that is in your heart, is going to happen. And this is just prepping you and supporting you on the way.
Mic drop. I could go on a whole other conversation about that, but unfortunately we're at time. So I'm just going to say mic drop. I love it. Where can people find you, support you, get more of you?
Instagram. Yeah, if you can send me a DM, Instagram, Rebecca Boatman. I post a lot of awesome, inspiring, free content there. Yeah.
Anything coming up like to get into your world?
Yeah, we have a program called Being Love to Manifest Love where you calibrate every single week. So I give you a calibrate every week. So I'm like, there's so much information out there, which we do give information inside. We give powerful teachings, but we're really heavy on accountability and getting you to actually calibrate. wink, say no, spread your magic dust, flirt, have fun, like everything that's going to really support you.
I love it. I love it so much. And of course, again, Rebecca will be in the Pleasure Priestess. I'm sure she'll have some Calibrave, heart, deep, beautiful medicine for us. Yeah. So that's so exciting. If you enjoyed the podcast, please leave a review. This helps the algorithm do its little magic to find and reach more people that can benefit from these conversations and this wisdom. So thank you so much for your review. Thank you again, Rebecca. Thank you to the listener for opening yourself up to this sacred and sexy combo. And we'll catch you next time on Talk Tantra to Me. Ta-ta.
Bye.
I can't believe I'm doing this, but here we go. Full heart, full permission, and full womb. I am entering my mother season. And as I slow down to prepare for this next chapter of life, I feel more lit up than ever about empowering you, especially when it comes to business and money, because the world my baby is being born into, I want it dripping with purpose, pleasure, and power in the right hands. Your hands. So for a limited time, I'm offering 50% off my business and pleasure course. This is a self-paced path to building a business to 6 figures and beyond that feels as good as it looks. We're talking strategies, systems, and sacred energetics for the turned on leader who refuses to choose between impact and income or between hustle and joy. This course is for the soul who wants to scale from softness and sensuality and build something real and sustainable. You'll learn the systems that let you grow while living your life, the energetics of magnetism, visibility, and money, how to sell with soul and build offers from deep alignment, because pleasure and purpose are not mutually exclusive. And when people like us, the listeners of this podcast, when you rise, the world changes. So use code PODCAST to get 50% off. Yes, 50% off only for a short time, because I truly want this in as many hands as possible before I go into full-on goddess mama mode. And P.S., I highly recommend upgrading to the first class VIP tier to receive one-to-one support with me while you build, because it's going to be intimate, potent, and deeply activating. And with this code for 50% off, it's actually less than my typical one-to-one mentorship. Plus, you're going to get this whole course as well. So there just has never been a better deal. Go to the link in my show notes to sign up for business and pleasure. Use the code podcast for 50% off for a limited time.